Dangerously.
We back.
Look at that. We're making all kinds of adjustments. Adam is back. He's out of his werewolf costume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got microphones.
Yeah. We don't know if they're working or not.
Official.
No one really watches this anyways, so I think we'll be all right.
We have 5 fans. What's up, fans?
Yeah, we got to throw out to Abby Kirkpatrick. Her and Nick were supposed to be here today, but Nick, guy's hustling.
He is.
He's busy. He's busy. So we will pump up the Pi Day thing maybe a little bit later on, a little closer to Thanksgiving time. But tomorrow, big holiday.
I don't know which one's that.
I think it's just the end of the month.
My kids are obsessed. It's fun. We went out this week walking. We started knocking on doors. They're dressed up.
Just practice trick or treating.
Yeah,
I love it.
The neighbors had candy ready. Renee Egnatz had candy ready. Amazing.
I will say we did a trunk or treat, and one of our previous guests, Tony Perri, told us about this. You and I about this place for the kids, Sherman Farms. Highly recommended if you're out if you live in the region.
Yeah, it is nice.
Nice, super affordable, and they have Coors Light. So, yeah. Which I didn't find out until I was leaving. Damn, nothing like Coors Light and a pumpkin donut to really pump up the degeneracy.
Love that. What do we got today, Tony?
We got
interesting stats, maybe.
We got some stats. We got some facts. We got feelings. I think what we need to figure out is how to not be the Bears.
Yeah, holy cow.
We can figure out a way to parallel this really great, right?
Okay, let's do it.
So in the NFL, you have a bye week. Yes. That bye week, you usually do a little bit of rest, rehabilitation, but you should be coming out laser focused.
Yeah, because you got 2 weeks.
2 weeks to prepare. And you're preparing against a team that is on the come up. You have the number 2 quarterback in the draft, Jaden Daniels. And we looked atrocious.
You even get to watch their film for 14 days. You got nothing else to do.
Yeah, and they're putting another game on film. And, yeah,
watch it live.
Just completely clueless. I don't know. I mean, there's obviously a lot of people that know way more about football than us really taking some pot shots at the Bears. But
yeah,
this is what happens. The parallel here is we have all these ideas. We love to dump on people to be prepared. So when the opportunity comes, you don't look like the Bears.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing more frustrating than coming out of a bye week, sucking ass the entire game, having the opportunity to win, and then your highly paid defensive back is talking smack to the fans while they're throwing a Hail Mary right behind them.
And then correct me if I'm wrong, but is he the one that tipped it up so the guy could catch it too? If it wasn't him, he was right there.
I don't think that was that. You know who tipped it? Nelly.
Oh, no.
The tip drill. I figured we get that one plugged in on that. But that's sometimes what happens, right? You have this time to prepare, but if you don't take that time to prepare,
you get complacent.
Complacency.
It kills.
And then you have the opportunity, right? Now all of a sudden you did a little bit of work. And you're out celebrating before you're over the goal line, or before the clock's out, and bam, we're done. So I think what we're going to talk about here is a Jim Rohn quote about if you don't like where you're at or where you are, move.
It sounds like Yogi Berra. It really does.
Yogi Berra.
You don't like where you're sitting, move.
Exactly. You don't like that seat, move to the other seat.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways that could go, right? And Jim Rohn, obviously, a lot of sales stuff and building wealth, making the right decisions financially, in your home life and all of that stuff. But I think it really comes down to conversation we've had with some people and pulled some data out from a presentation I did yesterday. If you don't like it, you got to move. But timing the market is the number one mistake that you're going to make if you're not willing to just make the move, right? Yeah. How much is the pain or what's the frustration? And I thought as we're going through this, I'm like, man, I have a customer right now who will remain nameless in case he ever sees this, but thought about this exact conversation, right? So his current debt load, all right, his current cash, his current outflow is $2,991 a month.
Okay.
That's I guess on credit, real credit situation. So that doesn't include utilities and stuff like that,
Or
right?
food or whatever.
$29.91 a month. All right.
Okay.
He lives in a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom condo in Crestwood.
Okay.
All right. His now make you move thing, right? He gets married. So maybe the bachelor pad's not what the wife wants. Yeah.
Maybe there's babies coming. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. But the other piece of it, right? We've talked about this a million different times. Everyone's insurance is going up. So the condo association, their umbrella coverage and their building coverage goes way up. So his HOA dues are going up from $150 right now. January 1st, they're going to $350.
Yeah.
So it's a $200 a month crack on HOA.
Yeah.
So now he's at $29.91 a month. All right. For this 2-bedroom condo, he has in the rest of his debt load. One of the biggest pieces of his debt load, though, is this personal loan that he took out.
Oh boy.
Now he's got good credit, so it's only at 17% interest or 16% interest. But it's costing him $619 a month
On a personal loan.
Yes.
Okay.
Unsecured, right? He's got some other debt here, but that's where his entire debt load, right? That Crestwood condo we've talked about, folks in Cook County at this point, like people are getting out, they don't want to be there, so that eventually is probably going to stymie values, right?
Mm-hmm.
The only way that he can access all of that equity in that property is to sell it.
Yeah, that's true.
Even on a cash out refinance or a home equity line of credit, there's
leaving
always a percentage of equity that we have to leave in that property, right?
10, 5, 15, 20.
Usually 20.
20%.
Sometimes with a HELOC, we can talk about those too in a minute. They'll let you go up to 90% total, 90% of the value of the property.
Yeah.
But most standard refinances are going to be the maximum cash out is 80% of the value of the property.
Wow.
So there's 20% of equity still tied up in there, right? Well, he goes, hey, I don't want to do it. My wife wants to move to Northwest Indiana. How many we hear this conversation at least 6 times a week?
Prudent.
Yeah. He's like, I don't know. My budget, all this. I'm like, hey, let's not worry about just taking all of that equity in that condo and using it as a down payment.
Okay.
Let's clean up all this other debt you have out there.
Good
Because
point.
PMI, the scary word, private mortgage insurance, again, not your homeowner's insurance, not your property insurance, the insurance that protects the lender in case of default, isn't 16%.
No.
So kind of we walk through the budget conversation, like, what if I told you that I could actually get you out of this condo that's worth in the middle 200s in Crestwood, right? And I can get you into a 3 or a 4-bedroom house with 2 bathrooms.
Okay. That seems like a nice house, nice starter.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a nice starter. You could almost live there for a long time.
They have no kids. I mean, they may, eventually maybe one's on the way, but 3 or 4 bed, right?
Yeah.
2 bath. You have nobody attached to you. You don't have a neighbor right on top of you. You don't have a neighbor below you. You don't have a next door neighbor means you have to walk out of your front door, down the driveway, and down the sidewalk, right? We can get him into this scenario. His monthly budget $2,710 a month.
Wow.
So he's actually $200 a month ahead.
Saving money.
Exactly.
Cool.
And it's just reallocating the debt. But he had to get to a spot where he wanted to, where that threshold of is, I need to move, or I want to move, right? I'm tired of this. My wife's nagging at me. We need to get out of here. We need some room to spread out. And it's just a conversation, right?
Sure.
But if you call someone else, or you try to go online to just do your mortgage with an online place that you're dealing with a call center representative, they're just going to let you say, okay, you want to put 20% down? Sure thing, Adam. Not a problem.
There's not a lot of discussion going on.
Yeah, and one of the other the other concerns was the interest rate, and we'll talk about that for a minute here. Hopefully, no one chops us up or anything like that. But the interest rate is not a major concern in this scenario. Okay, that mortgage that he's got on the condo, that rate's 2.99%. The interest rate in this scenario here that we use for the budget is 7%.
But you still save them $200.
Correct.
Monthly. Yeah, that's important to understand. Everyone gets so hyper focused on this rate thing, but you could really move more on the side of looking at the budget and moving things around and reallocating.
I love the bust up on Dave Ramsey. I think that some of the America's spending habits have broken him down a little bit. And he had a quote the other day about it's not an interest rate problem, it's an overspending problem.
That makes sense.
And in this case, right, I'm saving you $200 a month. I'm doubling the home value or the price point that you're going to be at. And you have room to spread out now. You're not just bound into this condo, all for the great price of $200 less.
But if you had this like rate fear, now rates are 7, and you're just not even going to look or do the work to figure this out, you're going to be stuck in Crestwood. Next year, your HOA fee is going to go up again, and you just keep going down the wrong road. Exactly.
And I think I look at it. I know you moved to Northwest Indiana before I did.
Barely.
Yeah, but something prompted that or triggered that for you. Obviously opening up an office here.
Yeah, and having a family. I mean, Ashley was pregnant, and you're in the South Loop. I'm like, let's get the heck out of here.
And that's it. For me. It was Megan has a baby, and I had a 3-bedroom house. And I know that you have a baby, you have a 3-bedroom house, but it's also during COVID, so I'm working from home a lot, and realizing that 3-bedroom house is really a 2-bedroom house with an office. Then the office then becomes the dining room. Like, I need this. And then my backyard, I had a power line and a utility box and a major storm sewer in. So you have a kid that wants to play in the backyard, and it's the almost
danger.
Danger. But just in the mid, not in a convenient part of it either.
Sure.
And ended up in Northwest Indiana too.
Perfect.
And I look at that, the rate I've added. We talk about monthly payments or rates. I traded out of a 2.25% 15-year mortgage. It
didn't matter.
I don't the change in life.
Yeah,
is worth every bit of it. It provides stability. So I think what happens is folks are so hyper focused on either rate, home, concerned about home prices. This other thing that's happening in the first Tuesday in November. I'm not sure what you call that.
I haven't heard anything about it.
Me either. I live under a rock. But you spend all this time worrying about that, and you're going to end up in the same spot unless you just decide, I want to move. What does it look like? Right? And I could have this conversation, and he could have just said, nah, it just doesn't stack up. But when he was like, hold on, I can do this and be $200 a month ahead. It's but rates are so high. Home prices are so high. Using an interest rate is an effective tool when you have other debt out.
You gotta look at the whole picture, man. You really just got to zoom out a little bit.
Exactly. So you're $200 for his case, right? He's $200 a month ahead just on actual outflows. His income or his real estate taxes on new house out here are going to remain stable.
He doesn't have a neighbor above him that he can hear talk or go to the bathroom.
Yeah,
what's that worth?
Yeah,
what's pay for that?
Especially when your neighbors they love to practice tap dancing.
Oh man, tap dancing neighbors.
I had a townhouse once, and my neighbor loved to have band practice over there.
Yeah, my first condo was a condo townhouse. My neighbor below us said they could hear everything we said in the kitchen. I'm like, oh man.
And then you realize they just had a microphone up there.
Yeah.
Hey, can you always talk by the stove and look right at it? But I think that's the major concern here is not looking at your entire budget. It's this hyper focus on just the mortgage rate or the cost of housing.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what's always going to exist? Cost of housing.
Yeah. You always got to pay to live somewhere.
Yeah.
Even if you pay off your mortgage, you're still paying taxes. You're always going to have to pay to live somewhere.
That's a big chunk of the conversation today was getting to that spot or getting comfortable with the move and why timing the market's impossible.
Yep.
The other thing that I thought was fantastic, and I know that you and I occasionally will talk about where stock market goes or where other major market, bond market, all that stuff goes. So I subscribe to a trading service that gives us a lot of information and insight on mortgage-backed securities, fixed income, treasuries, all of that stuff. And this is why it's impossible to time the market. The guy that runs this is probably I would rank them number 2 or number 3 smartest people I've ever met in my life.
Okay. And he has no idea.
Literally. and here's what's crazy, right? So I'm talking to another client about this yesterday. In our little trading feed or the information we get, anticipate the next 2 to 3 weeks, all of the behavior of mortgage-backed securities and bonds and treasuries to not behave with any historical norms to technical analysis, benchmarks.
So it's just chaos the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, there's a volatility meter on there. It's 4.
Yeah.
On 1 to 5, it's 4.99.
Oh my God.
And then like I'm talking to a client yesterday who is in whatever you want to call it, like high net worth financial product sales. And he's like, yeah, we have the same exact guidance that nothing right now
makes
any sense, which is good and bad, right?
Yeah.
You could be a little nervous about it, but that's why it's impossible to time the market.
Yeah.
Right? That running up into this, we've heard people parading heavily. Oh, election year, gas prices are going to go down, interest rates are going to go down. I hate to break it to you. Interest rates have gone up almost 0.5% on mortgages in the last 3 weeks alone.
Oh my. Even though the Fed cut the rate.
Exactly. And if you look at when the Fed cut the rate, mortgage rates trickled down for a day and a half and then began this climb, and then just this, it looks like you're basically climbing up the Rockies right now.
Oh, baby.
And if we want, we'll dive into it. We'll bore some people for a second.
Okay.
So,
why is it doing that, Tony?
Here we go. All right. I don't know.
Nobody knows.
Nobody knows. The biggest concern, there's 2 things that are driving up the money coming out of fixed income. Inflation is the antithesis of mortgage rates. It's the antithesis of fixed income, because if I'm lending you $200,000 today,
okay,
and you're paying me back in $1 increment, that dollar is only worth 92 cents next year.
Right.
How am I picking up that spread again?
You got to pick up the spread
via interest rate.
Right.
There's no other way to really to address that, right? So inflationary pressure, and I actually saw a chart yesterday from Goldman Sachs, which was crazy. All-time credit card debt is an all-time high again in America. Surprise, surprise.
Shocker.
The spread between the growth rate of credit card debt and the decline in personal savings rate in the United States, all-time low. But here's the wild part, all right? United States credit utilization factor, so the dollar amount owed on credit cards to credit limit is only at 40%.
We have 60% more people can get themselves.
There is $4 trillion more dollars in available revolving debt that's not tapped into right now.
Wow.
But there's savings rates going down. And why is that? Because when you have to actually spend a dollar, a real dollar, right? Not a borrowed dollar, you're going to be a little more cognizant about where that money's going and what you're doing. But there's $4 to $5 trillion of rampantly available, super expensive credit, and we're already parabolic. I think that our CEO Eric explained it's a hockey stick on the debt load, right?
That's crazy.
Well, if we already have all of this positive consumer sentiment, all of the jobs reports coming out positive, that's an insane amount of inflationary pressure that could come into the marketplace.
Right.
We just said inflation's bad for interest rates.
Correct.
So the market's bracing for that fear, all right, or that potential of people tapping into that extra $4 trillion when we're already at an all-time high. So that's part one. Part two is treasury issuance and where we're at in the United States with actual United States debt load. The United States government annual interest carrying cost is $886 billion, Adam.
That's wild. Almost $1 trillion. We
are between depending on what reports you read, sometime between 2025 and, well, I guess the chart is not by 2034, there's an anticipation that our debt load as a country is an impossible mess. It hits a level that we've never seen, and it's unsustainable at that point.
It's like what? How many times GDP? Like
right now we're at 180. of GDP.
Wow.
And I think it was 180, and I want to say that they anticipated to go to like 400%. That has a lot of major impacts on money coming into the bond market, right? So you have China, Japan, some of the Euro nations that would love to buy United States treasuries because it allows them to have access to dollars that are insulated from exchange rate.
Yep.
We're probably talking super technical. People don't know. We'll get to the
You already lost me, but I'm just shaking my head.
All right, perfect. Yeah. You have all of these the nation's sovereign wealth funds that were buying all of these treasuries.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have institutional investors that were buying them. Well, all of a sudden the credit rating and am I going to get repaid on these things? That concern creeps into the market. So now you've evaporated this demand. Okay.
I don't want to buy them anymore because they're not sure if they're going to get paid back.
Correct. It's like buying a. Do you remember like that car company Daewoo came out?
Yeah.
Everyone wanted those for a minute, and then it was like these things. You could put a 1,000-mile warranty on it, and it's still not. It's not. It'll blow up driving off the lot. So everyone's kind of a lot of these places are pulling their money out of that marketplace. So it's cratering the demand, drives down the price, which in this case in mortgage-backed securities and bond market means that the cost goes up. Well, when you have no demand for these products, the rate has to go up and up and up until someone says, you know what, that's actually that return.
I'll take that risk is worth it.
Exactly.
12%.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so where it all goes with the election is honestly, if Trump gets elected or Kamala gets elected, rates are going to go up.
You heard it here first.
It doesn't matter. Rates are going to go up. Trump, in his theory and policy, right, is touting tax cuts. The market interprets tax cuts as eventual treasury issuance. So that market we just talked about where there's very, very limited demand, we're going to have to overflood it with supply. It drives up interest rates.
Yeah.
On Kamala's side, right, it's more of a concern of government spending. Government spending requires treasury issuance.
So let me repeat that so I understand it. So Trump wins, government revenue goes down because taxes are cut. Kamala wins, government revenue needs to go up, so you have to print more money to spend it. Either way, interest rates are going to go up.
Yes.
I think I got it.
We're at from a mortgage rate perspective, we're still at not a crazy high jump, I don't think we're going to see, but we're going to see sustained pressure on it, which is not uncommon. Post-election situations have always driven a drive in either way. But this theory of, gas rates, gas is going to come down, interest rates come down, it's an election year, out the window at this point.
Yeah.
Why is that? And it's like, well, we're currently digesting a 700% increase in money supply. There's no other, history repeats itself. Financial things usually repeat themselves. There's no historical data to look at on what we're doing. It's unprecedented stimulus that we're trying to digest.
Yeah.
That's to say, it's not to scare people, though. You can't time the market. You can't control trillions and trillions of dollars and let that be the dictator of.
What can you do?
Plan.
Just plan. Like have your plan. Know what you need. Know what you want. You can time it. You're going to fail because no one knows what's going to happen. But you might just overthink yourself out of.
If you want to move, just get the plan together and move.
Yeah,
it's that easy. Are you upset or frustrated with your current situation? You gotta give us a call, right? Like, and it's the same thing. Your customers, right? As soon as if they get a premium increase or something like that, they feel, oh, well, maybe I need to move.
Yeah.
My interest rate's this. Maybe I need to move. We'll have the conversation with you.
Yeah.
And I think that as we go into this whole theory on budgets and making sure you're adequately insured or not, like there's a whole other piece of that puzzle that we probably need to dive into again.
Yeah.
But you just got to make the decision to move.
I agree. People just overthink themselves and then they're paralyzed into non-decisions, and then you miss an opportunity.
Paralysis by analysis costs people thousands and thousands of dollars. They don't feel it because it's never a realized loss, right?
There's a lot of that going on right now. Oh, I'm going to wait till after the election. Guys, what is that going to do? I mean, I got a tenant that might move in next door. Well, we want to wait till after why? Because why?
So last night I was at a funeral luncheon thing, whatever you want to call those, and
celebration of life.
Yeah, and I was sitting next to a guy that I know. He works at CarMax in Maryville, and he said that car sales are the lowest that they've ever been. Used car sales, lowest they've ever been. And he goes, I don't understand it, Tony. He's like, I've known you a long time. Because I get when people say I don't want to buy a house until after the election, because people are saying they don't want to buy a used car from CarMax for $25,000 until after the election.
I don't see how those dots.
Do you want to know what he told me though? He said the lowest interest rate that they've had on a used car loan at CarMax. They'll probably get sued for this, but the lowest interest rate that they had in the last 2 months was 10% on a used car.
Oh my gosh!
And what do you?
Hey, whatever. Buy the car, because after the election it might be 12%. It might be 8%. You just don't know.
Well, you're sacrificing mobility and like getting to work potentially. It's wild, but yeah, don't put these boogeymans out here. And then the other piece of this, we'll get real controversial here.
Oh boy.
This $25,000 first-time home buyer thing, if Kamala is elected, 0.00% chance that actually comes into play.
No way. That's just like the unrealized capital gains thing. Like, you can't do that.
So like with the Kamala, that plan though, or Kamala, I don't know, whatever, the Harris campaign, if you will. Yeah. It would require a 60-40 vote in the Senate. I don't see that type of shift happening. Makes sense. And then we've talked, it is the wrong stimulus. We've talked about this with, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 weeks ago. You just introducing additional stimulus to a housing market that doesn't have supply is just going to further drive up the gap or the perceived affordability concern.
Yeah.
But if you have untapped equity in your house and you want to move because whatever reason, right? And it doesn't just have to be death, divorce, family size. It could just be you hate your neighbors or you really want to be in this neighborhood. Those great houses moving quickly. They're on the market for 3-4 days at most. And so if you're trying to scramble around, get your budget in line, and then make a financial decision like that, you need to have a plan. You need to have the backbone. And I will happily have a budget conversation with you once every 6 months, even if it doesn't mean you're buying a house or looking to refinance.
That's cool.
We got you covered on that. And we, in those budget things, a lot of times we'll end up talking about insurance and making sure you have the proper coverages and you're working with agent, like, in particular, we love to work with Adam's office because all of your people have a real conversation with someone about this is the coverages that you need.
Here's how this works in your money finance world.
And like the $2 that you're saving here potentially could cost you $15,000 in a car accident.
Correct.
So $2 a month to protect myself from $15,000 to $20,000 of personal liability.
Yeah.
That's the $2 I'd spend every day.
Bingo.
But when you call these call centers, they just explain when their value proposition is just the cheapest, most cutthroat approach, expect someone to come at you with a cutthroat approach at some point in life.
Yep.
Anything else you got?
Mm-mm.
All right.
Vote. Go vote.
Vote early.
Vote, but just live your life.
Vote early. Vote often.
Who sung that, Rihanna?
What?
Just live your life.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was what do the kids call it now? A bop.
A bop?
That was a bop in like 2000.
Is that what they call like bangers? Is boppers?
Big bopper.
Big bopper. Little bopper.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. We have no idea, but Rihanna, I think she wrote a couple. Maybe a
couple bills. Yeah.
She got the makeup line, right?
Yeah, she's doing the same thing.
Yeah, I got the good skincare with her, skincare products. All right, that's all we got. Next week we'll have a good one. We got Harris Kuklaka.
Cool.
We're gonna be talking about a very funny, actually not funny, a very serious topic.
Ooh.
So right? We heard that thing. I marry the house, date the rate.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if you married the house, you dated the rate, and now you need to divorce your spouse? So we're going to talk about title vesting, how to make
the big D word.
the big D.
Okay. Talk about the D.
We'll talk about that, but we're also going to talk about a lot of the concerns in Illinois and Indiana about title vesting and making sure, like, if you buy a house and only you're on the loan, what's my spouse's rights? So I have to worry about that.
These are things people don't talk about. I'm glad we're doing it.
It's crazy because it's just such a technical detail of how your name Adam Hage is written on the deed, or Adam Hage and Ashley, how that tenancy can have a massive impact on the case of you or your spouse passing away and you still owning that real estate. It could, taking it one way, it can be you own the entire house now, no other things. Taking it a different way could mean that house, in order for you to dispose of that house, you could have to go through probate, costly attorney things. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one.
It's going to be a good one.
The devil's in the details, right?
Right.
Big D. All right, we're out.
See ya.
Let us out of here.
We out of session? We in session? We don't know.
I think we're out. But it's not.